Managers are scared of having the difficult conversations. We're scared of giving feedback. And remember, giving feedback is you helping this particular employee, right, to grow in those skills that they need in order for it. That's why it's very important. We within the company, we do like a one-on-ones. It's like check-ins within the organization. So the check-ins would be, are you still aligned? Remember, this is a transaction, right? Are you still aligned? Are you still seeing benefit? Are you still moving in the right direction? Give feedback. This is what you need to grow in.
Employees, they shy away from sort of raising the unfair labor practice because of fear of being victimized. Particularly if it's a small organization, because you're actually exposed. So again, there is recourse. There has to be recourse in there or something.
Like your SMEs, for example, they don't necessarily have enough money to get a permanent HR consultant with him. We then become the extension of the company and say, okay, fine, we'll become your HR department. And in that, then we make sure that you are legally compliant, you've got policies, you've got charts on the walls. We create that culture. Hi guys, you are watching CouchTalk with LHS, where we have meaningful conversations about HR related topics, entrepreneurship, business related topics, culture, leadership, and the ever evolving workplace. I am your host, Neombele, aka Boss Lady. Today's session is basically a continuation of part 2 of the topic that we had about unfair labor practice on promotions. So let's recap and see what happened on part 1, and then we can continue with part 2. Enjoy the episode. So for today's episode, we're going to touch on unfair labor practice, and particular to that, promotions, right? It's going to be a bit different because we've received an anonymous letter. So I'm going to go through the anonymous letter, and then from there, just so that we can dissect. So the letter that came through is coming from a concerned employee. To whom it may concern. I'm writing anonymously because I'm concerned about how promotion decisions are being handled in our workplace, and I fear retaliation if I speak openly. Over the past year, I've noticed patterns in our promotion processes that raise questions about fairness and transparency. In several instances, positions have been advertised internally, but it appeared that a preferred candidate had already been identified before interviews even took place. This had created a perception that some job postings exist only as a formality rather than a genuine opportunity for all qualified employees. Additionally, there seems to be a trend where individuals with personal relationships with management are more likely to be promoted. While I understand the networking plays a role in career growth, it becomes concerning when it appears to overweigh merit, experience, and performance. Another issue is the lengthy delays in promotion decisions. Some employees have applied for roles and waited months without clear communication or feedback. This uncertainty affects morale and can make the process feel arbitrary or poorly managed. I'm also worried about how certain groups may be disadvantaged. For example, I've observed that women, employees with diverse backgrounds, and colleagues with disabilities are less frequently promoted, even when they meet or exceed the qualifications for higher roles. While there may be no explicit bias, the outcome suggests that the process may not be as equitable as it should be. In one instance, an employee who recently returned from maternity leave was overlooked for a promotion, despite previously being considered a strong candidate. Situations like this raise concerns about whether unconscious bias may be influencing decisions. I believe that promotions should be based on clear, objective criteria, applied consistently and transparently. Employees should feel confident that they are being evaluated fairly and that opportunities are genuinely open to all. I hope this letter encourages an honest discussion about how promotion practices can be improved to ensure fairness, transparency, and compliance within labor standards.
Another challenge, I think, with promotions is where you have, I always say you have two types of employees. You have those who are technical, who become your technical masteries, in terms of their career progression. They can only be promoted in a technical role. Specialist role. Then you have ones who are managerial. And you find that someone is brilliant technically, and they reach a ceiling. And the next level is a managerial role, but they don't have the technical competency to be promoted to that level. It's just not there because of those soft skills that you're talking about.
But that's where the fairness comes in. That as much as, and I think it's going to, this is another topic, and I'm getting quite excited about it as well, because that's where those conversations come in when we're doing performance. Managers are scared of having the difficult conversations. We're scared of giving feedback. And remember, giving feedback is you helping this particular employee, right, to grow in those skills that they need in order for it. That's why it's very important. We within the company, we do like a one-on-ones. It's like check-ins within the organization. So the check-ins would be, are you still aligned? Remember, this is a transaction, right? Are you still aligned? Are you still seeing benefit? Are you still moving in the right direction? Give feedback. This is what you need to grow in. So that by the time when there's promotional opportunities, then at least they know that they've worked according to this, or they've worked to develop a specific competency.
I think, again, that feedback that managers must give must also be backed up by evidence.
No, definitely.
When you say to me, I'm lacking in 1, 2, 3, particularly the soft skills again. Technical skills are easy because it's either it's there or it's not there, because you were able to do 1, 2, 3 for the technical skills. But the soft skills are always a challenge. And again, you need to back that with evidence. And that's why you'll have the 360s, you'll have all sorts of things to actually gather all that evidence. And evidence again, because it's going to come in to say, if you are not promoting me to this level for a managerial role, what are your reasons? Then you need that backup to justify your reason.
No, absolutely. Do you want to add anything? You're thinking long and hard. No, not yet.
I'm just thinking about small businesses in that case. How does your organization, let's handle HR, then help small businesses who find themselves with no policies, with just no procedure and everything? How do you help them in a cost-effective manner?
I think that's very critical, because what we're selling a service. And remember, we're in the industry of, it's saturated, number one. Number two, it's seen as a nice to have. You don't need HR until you need HR. Because they need us when they go to the system. When there's problems, right? When there's problems, that's when they think. So I think you first start showing the employer the benefit, as much as it doesn't have a monetary benefit, but it does. Indirectly so, because you need to be legally compliant. We need to create culture. And how do you get that? Because again, we're going back, we're dealing with the human capital. So dealing with the human capital, we come from different various backgrounds. How do we combine everybody into being one? Then it's the policies. So we've got, in our organizations, to do that, we've got different types of service offering. We can do it as a project, or we can do it as a retainer. Like your SMEs, for example, they don't necessarily have enough money to get a permanent HR consultant with them. We then become the extension of the company and say, okay, fine, we'll become your HR department. And in that, then we make sure that you are legally compliant, you've got policies, you've got charts on the walls. We create that culture. And I think sometimes when we talk policies, maybe some clients think, policies are the same. Not necessarily.
No,
it cannot be a
there's the Labor
approach.
Relations Act.
Will work accordingly. Yes,
there's the basic conditions of employment.
It will supersede, but you would need your rules. Each and every.
It must talk to your environment too. Obviously within the framework and the confinements of all those acts, but it must be to your environment.
No, absolutely.
In a nutshell, prevention is better than cure.
We need to be proactive rather than reactive.
Because it becomes costly to be reactive.
Absolutely.
Particularly anything that is legal. To react is very costly.
No, absolutely. So let's
just to add in terms of the policies, to say, and policies also bring clarification in the business as well as consistency. Once you have a policy in place, you consistently apply you manage your expectations and you stick to it as well.
With what you're saying now, we've had situations where, employees are sometimes disgruntled because they don't know. The minute they are educated, then you would see peace and harmony because there's transparency. I usually say in an environment, because a lot of people perceive me as strict, right? And I usually say, I will give you feedback as much as it's bad feedback, but you will get it. Because the minute you start shying away, then people start thinking you're hiding something. That's where the consistency comes in when you have policy. That's when the communication, the openness, the transparency comes in as well.
Well, what I just want to add, some are educated and arrogant.
Absolutely.
Hence your point of soft skill.
Very arrogant.
They're just educated and arrogant.
Yeah, you get that.
And the higher you go in an organization or in a workplace, you need soft skills. You cannot do away without soft skills. And your weakness can be your strength in one role.
That's true. But it's also the balance that you bring towards it, because sometimes when you're talking about such things like promotions, for example, as much as you can educate, but if people perceive it like that, then it's you've
it's the entitlement.
Exactly.
It's the
but it's
entitlement.
our responsibility then to go back and educate and prove. I think that whole point of proving is exactly the fairness is very important. It's very important.
Fairness of your decision.
Exactly.
And justify.
Because as much as we're having the conversations, we're not running away from the fact that it does happen where there are processes which are not fairly done.
That's why we litigate at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Because we are constantly interpreting legislation so that it makes sense. Because when you look at this, you may interpret it as such, but someone may come with a different view to say, but not really this way. And let the final arbiter, who's the judge or the commissioner, whoever the presiding officer is.
So let's talk about, because we've touched, and I liked the whole conversation about this whole aspect. Let's move on to Njolo in the workplace. And people being promoted, and now it's perceived that you're being promoted because you are dating so and so.
Justifying evidence as well in terms of promotion. Position must be advertised. It must follow normal recruitment process, which is transparent and it's open and you can justify it. I think again that's where the challenge is.
I once came across this concept. It was in Movango. And the vendor Soapy.
You showing us your age?
Yeah. They were talking about a non-fraternization rule. Perhaps you can also have that to avoid Mujolo, but nowadays
human behavior.
That one nowadays is human behavior.
Which law protects that?
Well, there used to be a rule called a policy, a rule, non-fraternization.
But it's
constitutional. But to Nkhensani's point, look, just have policies, just act fairly. The test is the fairness of your decision. If your side chick has went through the process, or your work husband, let me not just say side chick.
Because there are those terms.
There
are titles.
If your work husband has went through the whole process, and if you have recused yourself, remember there's an element of conflict of interest and bias and all those kind of things, which will impair the fairness of your decision. If you can remove yourself from that process, there was this NPA lady who was interviewed about sitting here. Was it? That lady, I forgot her name, but she said in an interview where her husband was also, she sat as a panelist where her husband was being interviewed, and they questioned,
why didn't you just recuse yourself?
why didn't you just,
But recusal
Yes.
is easy in that situation because they're husband and wife, it's known.
It's known, yeah.
But there are secret affairs
Affairs
in the office.
100%.
The minute you recuse yourself and you have to give a reason why you're recusing yourself, now it's out there in the open.
I'm glad that I forgot her name, because if she sees this, she might sue us. But look, even if
Don't mention it.
Exactly. But even if they know, even if the whole community knows, and or the whole village or town, but the decision, it will impair your decision-making process. It's always good to just take a step back.
But why it's a secret affair? I want to know.
Why it's a secret affair and it's not known, you're conscious. Can your conscience speak to you?
Sometimes that doesn't speak to people.
It's a problem. Then, well, otherwise, I guess that's where the policies then vindicate you. If it becomes known, I'm sure you'll challenge it at a later stage, because unfair labor practice says if you are aware of an unfair act,
That's what I wanted.
once you are aware, within 90 days of that unfair act, then you can challenge that decision to say, hey, I didn't know already these people were busy doing
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. But now I know I feel like this decision was impaired because he said in the interview, perhaps you can take your
because
chance and win.
some spins would be that you're working for a small organization or you've got a flat structure. You know, the influence is there. As much as I can recuse myself, the influence is there. I can tell Bridget, next interview, you must, because of the structure that we have within the organization.
So avoid enjoying the office.
Please do.
And always remember,
because it also brings out a lot of problems which I don't want to, like with harassment and all these other things that are that are coming in.
Harassment.
Yes, that again another topic for another day. You wanted to say something?
No, I think they've covered a lot of things, but also I think it boils back to say, as an individual, if you're part of the panel and you know that somehow you're having an affair with the person, it's fair to disclose for the panel and for the future of the organization, because one or the other employees will find out. It does come out. There's going to be disgruntlement among employees. There's going to moral and all that. So it's quite where one would have to then remove yourself from the panel.
Or sometimes you think people don't know what they do.
Absolutely.
When they do think it's a secret affair.
Exactly.
You're the only one who thinks it's a secret.
Exactly. Because some people in their processes, recruitment processes, would have that disclosure agreement just to say you need to disclose if there's anything as a panel member, and it's there in the file.
And it's binding then.
It's binding.
You know, in Pedi there's this phrase or idiom, sikukuni. Sebonwa ke sebatala. So what happens in the dark
will come
to light. And chicken will come home to roost.
And when it happens,
I don't understand why you wanted to be a ghost.
That's the only reason of being a ghost.
you can tweet what you like.
The nerves are 100%.
No, but then that's a good one, because it's absolutely true, like you said. You may think that people don't know, but you'd be surprised of what people know. So maybe just on the last point, because I'm going back to the letter just to ensure that we're covering, all the aspects of that particular letter. They spoke about another thing in terms of discrimination, which was pregnant ladies.
Yes.
Pregnant ladies. So are we saying that a person who came back, and I know our conversations are always going back to our processes, our recruitment process, somebody that's been denied a promotional opportunity based on the fact that they are pregnant or they just came back from maternity leave, would that then be seen as suspect on its own? And I know we're going back because again, it's process, but would that be seen as suspect?
What would be the reason for overlooking that? So again, if we follow in policy 1, 2, we have a clear job description, and our interview or recruitment process is fair, it's documented. Then and that's where I said, if you don't have a process in place, it's not structured, you don't keep documents, That's where this individual may feel that I was denied an opportunity because of the fact that I was pregnant. Yet, again, they may feel entitled to the promotional opportunity, but because they didn't get it or the expectation was created, but because now the pregnancy surfaces as the reason, when there are other reasons why, not other, in fact I should say another, there are actual reasons. Pregnancy cannot be, it shouldn't be a reason. It cannot be, shouldn't be a reason if we talk fairness.
Yeah, you see there you are now dealing with double trouble now. That employee will lodge a complaint of unfair labor practice and unfair discrimination, and the employer will pay dearly. Will pay 12 months here and maximum compensation there. Can even take you to the High Court to get whatever maximum compensation she can get out of you, because you've handed her wealth on a silver platter. So to Nkhensani's point, follow the process. Don't overlook a woman who just come from
very sensitive.
Maternity. Very sensitive.
Yes. Because it becomes the most visible reason. Of course. And they'll sit on it. So if you can't justify your decision, then you have nothing to stand on. And it looks like it smells like it ought to be the reason.
Absolutely.
100%, yeah.
Okay. All right, at least I think we've covered everything that was on the letter. And I think that the biggest parts of everything, or maybe the patterns that we are seeing, is get your house in order.
Yes.
Get your house in order. Make sure that you've got all the necessary documents.
Absolutely. Yes. Again, because we emphasized a lot on policy, I think there's another process that we should never ever lose sight of, particularly on unfair labor practice, and that's a grievance process. That employers tend to not know or shy away from dealing with grievances. Because sometimes you may not have a very clear grievance process in place because you're small. However, you have an open door policy so that employees can raise their grievances.
Absolutely.
In that way, you will avoid a situation where you found wanting with an unfair labor practice issue.
Oh, you can go ahead.
Yeah, well, another thing, your disciplinary code. Just incorporate it with the grievance procedure. Something small. If you have an issue, come. Let's solve it.
Exactly.
Even with unfair labor practice, you can't go to the CCMA without having exhausted all the internal remedies. So even for a small business, just have an entire grievance policy or procedure or open door policy to say I have an open door policy. Whatever grievance you have, please bring it to my table. Let's discuss.
And deal with it.
And deal with it, most importantly.
But that's I like playing devil's advocate, right? A lot. So when we have an issue, we're saying to the employer, put this in place, do this, do that. Employees also have a responsibility at that.
There's no right without responsibility.
Of course. So if, for example, there's an issue that you're dealing with, go to the right person so that your issue can be sorted out. Follow the right procedure. Because if you're going to be talking to a group of friends, nothing is happening. You're just frustrating, and then nothing is being resolved. And I understand sometimes it's very difficult to go directly to your manager if the manager is, the issue. But there is HR. There are people. Try and exhaust the internal processes before you can go and refer your matter.
If you are aggrieved, this is a small, let's play devil's advocate again. It's a small organization which employs 10 employees. Your grievance is against the owner of the business, or the CEO, call it whatever, the most senior person. Where to from there?
I think maybe, obviously that's a very difficult one. And also it becomes to say, what kind of a person is the CEO in terms of, is a person that is got emotional intelligence. When you speak to him or her, is able to understand, to say, okay, Bridget, wait a minute, where are you coming from? What happened? Okay,
They're not.
If they are not, then obviously that's a very hard one.
Or let me chip in there. Look, you said you lodge a complaint with the most senior.
Your complaint, you can't lodge
it
about the conduct
of the most senior. Look, I would say you can appeal to the most senior to have an external and impartial person to go over your grievance, or you can go to the CCMA to hear your grievance, because those kind of processes are allowed by the CCMA. You spoke something about having a clean house. You know, I was reminded of a holy scripture about demons. You know, Jesus will cast out a demon.
Yeah.
But if you do absolutely nothing, you know what the holy scripture says? That spirit which you cast out will come back with 10 or 70, 77 more demons. So just get your house in order, please. Have policies.
Absolutely. Then I take you up on your offer. Well, on your advice to say the issue about having someone external. This CEO, owner, call them whatever. There's no one external that could hear this grievance because they own the business. Why do you want somebody external to come into my business and tell me what to do? This is not a family arrangement. This is a business. Then you approach the CCMA, right? Already, they give you attitude. You took me to the CCMA. You took me to the CCMA. There you now faced with victimization. It's a spiral effect.
On that score, I think there's a new code. It was a sexual harassment code and stuff, but now there's a code that is was promulgated in line with the CCMA rules, the Labor Relations Act, against victimization, harassment, sexual harassment. There was just only a code on sexual harassment, and then it was amended to say there's a code against victimization, harassment. There's always recourse for employees against such scoundrels, if I may say.
And that's where I wanted us to come to. That there is a recourse, because employees, they shy away from sort of raising the unfair labor practice because of fear of being victimized. Particularly if it's a small organization, because you're actually exposed. So again, there is recourse. There has to be recourse in there or something.
So in that case, if the employer did not have policies, like a grievance policy, people are scared to go back to them. Go to the CCMA because that's the only thing. But I'm going to go back to what Bridget is also saying. Sometimes as employers, we mustn't forget that we are human as well. We must be, I usually say this, maybe it's from an HR mindset, we must also be willing to be corrected. And we must hear our
very
employees.
difficult.
It's very difficult.
Particularly if it's your business.
Absolutely.
Very difficult.
Absolutely. So you must always be, because the fact that you've got employees, these are people that are seeing you. These are people that are working with you. They're not in isolation. They are stakeholders. They're very important. Listen to them. If you don't agree, let it be a conversation, because what is a grievance? Right? How do we solve a grievance? Because at the end of the day, the relationship still has to work. Right? So that's very important. So people can't then, if your employees then has taken you to the CCMA, you can't be upset because you didn't give them an opportunity internally to raise these things. I still appreciate people that, let's have the conversation first. Because then it's people that would want to still work with you. Let's try and solve it. And then if all fails, then we go outside. Okay.
It's like any typical mjolo. There's no communication. You raise your complaints as a girlfriend or boyfriend, and it turns to deaf ears. Then there will be friction
between.
So it's very important to listen to each other. Any employment relationship is underpinned by mutual respect.
Absolutely.
And part of mutual respect is listening to each other and at least coming to middle ground in terms of solving your issues. So there's no relationship that can work without communication, without respect. So what you said, it's very important. It applies in every aspect of our life. So just because you are a Makulu boss somewhere, it doesn't mean
you're not immune.
Exactly.
You're not immune.
And,
doesn't mean
you're
you
also
must
not your human.
Yes.
Yeah.
You make mistakes and you learn from others.
Yes.
Allow yourself to be criticized. That's how we become better.
Yes.
No,
So all,
absolutely.
particularly small businesses where resources are limited and you may not
100%.
allow yourself to learn
Yes.
from your employees.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Any last words from you, Ben?
This was
It was very interesting. We could go on and on and on, right?
just promotions, but already
Yeah.
a lot. It's an ecosystem. You know, everything is interlinked,
Absolutely.
and it's actually there's a lot that happens in one day, in one area, in one space. And just listening to that letter, I suppose it was at one organization. But yes, let's create harmony in the workplace. It's possible.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Bridget, any last words from you?
Okay, I think from my end, I would say that employment is a relationship between an employer and an employee. Whatever concerns that are there should be transparency. Whatever promotions happening, there should be fairness, clarification, and so that the relationship can continue. And so that there is also development in employees, the morale is also high, and also the organization itself grows as well. Because it's a transaction, like I think something that we said before, to say an employer also gets benefit, also employees do get benefit from that. So I think it's a relationship that everyone has to maintain. Yeah, I think
Those gentlemen.
That's the last
Thank you. Look, fairness and fairness alone, as an employer, will vindicate you in whatever process. And please ensure that your house is in order. Don't allow the demon that you cast out to come with 70 more demons. So have policies, have procedures. Employees also know your rights. And communicate with your employers as well. And we'll have harmonious working relationships. Like Nkhensani said, transparency in the workplace is encouraged. Open door policy. At the end of the day, we want to win.
Want to see profits.
We want to see profits. We want to put bread on our table. For God's sake, the economy is bad, and we don't have any couches to hide our $1 million. Wherever they will come from, oh God, please, if they can come, and then I'll prepare a nice couch for them. Thank you very much for
Thank you very much. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think I've learned, or people would have learned a lot, because I mean, this is also just an opportunity to understand that everything that we do, like you said, it's an ecosystem. Everything is interlinked, right? So getting your house in order, making sure that there's policies. If you don't have, it's not all bad. Now it's a starting point, right? You can just contact somebody to assist. You don't have to have a permanent person in the job. You can outsource to say, help me just to ensure that my house is in order.
But prevention is better than cure.
Absolutely.
Hallelujah!
Absolutely. Thank you very much for coming through. We really appreciate it. I think we've learned a lot. So if you really want to be in touch with us, you can contact us on marketing@letshallohr.co.za. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And like I always say, you don't have to take everything from the podcast, but at least take one thing with you. Until the next episode, salang hante. Bye.
Shalom, shalom.